Well, hello there everybody, we Paddy from across the shuck, and I've got a lovely video this morning on my Para 3. And I say it's a lovely video. Look, my friend James over at the Knife Video channel, which by the way, I must add, I asked you to go over and give him a sub. Thank you so much for everybody who went over and gave him a sub. He's off on the sick at the minute, so he'll be back shortly with videos, but I just wanted to thank you so much for doing that. Bear with him, he'll not be too long, but he is going to be a while, maybe a week or two. Let's just see how it goes. But my thoughts and prayers go to him. Now, the next thing. This is a Spyderco made in the States in Colorado, USA, Earth. I think that's brilliant. I love that. A real catch. And it's made of CTS BD1N steel, which is a pretty good steel. It's a pretty good steel. Now, all the reviews I've heard, now, James gave me this, so it's a present. And as a knife, I love this knife. I think it's a great knife. Ergonomically, it's really quite good. Is there things that I would change? Yeah, probably is, but there is one most nice. But I was going to start this off as a comparison video between this and the Benchmade, the bug out, which everybody else seems to have done. But I wouldn't put them two on the same dinner plate. To be perfectly honest, I genuinely wouldn't put. The bug out for me is quite a bit better than what the Para 3 is. Now, I love this Para 3. Please don't get me wrong, and I'm not going to knock it, but it's not a comparison with this bug out. I'm sorry. I mean, for a start, let me just take the simple things. It's a quarter again heavy. It's got an inferior blade steel. It's got, I love this. This is just drop shot. It's beautiful. This has only got one washer. I don't think it'll ever be as drop shotty as my PM2, which is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love my PM2. This is not a knife, either in blade steel or in a plastic handle. It is lightweight, and it's lovely as a lightweight knife, and it will do plenty of work. I think it's a wee bit thick behind the spine. I don't think we needed it that thick, but I think there's things you could have made this lighter that would have worked perfectly well. A couple of things that I'm not keen on, that I would change. And again, I really don't, because this is a gift, I don't want to run it down. This is just me making my comparison, an honest judgment on an honest knife. So, let me just go through a few things that are different. On this, then, the change from the Para 3, which is G10, which apparently by all means, I think it will be a replacement. It could well be the replacement for this, but at the moment, I don't think this is, unless their QC changes quite a bit. I think they've gone over the top on the smooth. I mean, they do have sharp edges on their G10s, but I think they've actually gone over the top. I think it's a bit slippy in the hand. The other thing that I noticed that I haven't heard anybody saying is look at the difference in the scales. That's the Delica, which has a much better scale pattern and makes it much more secure in the hand than this. The Delica is probably better rounded. I think the Delica is about perfect as far as roundness goes. This, I think they've just gone over the top and gone too much. There's nothing, it's really very shiny. Now, saying that, with Spyderco's ergonomics, I mean, it's never going to move from your hand, But when you're using, now, this is quite good. I've been absolutely hammering this back and forward to get this as drop shotty as I could. But I find that when I'm doing this, sometimes I put it in my hand and it just slides off. There isn't the grip, so I'm having to jam the pocket clip, which I have to say is perfect. The pocket clip I have no faults with at all. The BD1 steel I have no faults with at all. But if you're going to compare this against the likes of a bug out, the basics have to be nearly the same. I'm sorry, S30V is in my eyes, a better steel than the CTS BD1. I think it just is. I don't think that's that's just a fact. This is a better steel than this. The handle, the grippiness. This is, I think they've made it. I can move my hand up and down there. Look at my thumb. Listen. I can barely do it in the Delica. That's a good grip. The Delica is an amazing grip. Why muck with a good grip? And I think they've done it here. They could have done without thinning that down. That is nowhere near as deep. I would have had a thinner blade. Now, the other thing, when you pick a knife up and you put it in your hand, I love it when I don't have to think where my hand goes. Now, I've heard somebody saying that before, and it took me a while to understand. You pick the bug out up and you know exactly where your hand goes. The pocket clip is in the perfect place, disappears into your hand, and you just grip it and work. Go to work in whatever grip you want. It's just perfect. This, you have to decide, am I going back? Am I going forward? Although this is a beautiful pocket clip, you still feel it a bit. You still have to maneuver your hand until you get it in a comfortable position. And it's still not as comfortable as the bug out. So I'm taking the bug out of the equation. Completely out of the equation. Because I don't think it's in the same standard of a knife that the bug out is. Now, the other one that I thought I might put it against, now I don't have one, but it's the mini grip, which is probably much more akin to this. Just pretend this is a mini grip and it's got now S30V. Benchmade's basic steel now on all the knives is going to be at least S30V, which is perfect. It's a powdered steel. It'll do any job. And unless you're a steel buff, you'll never need a better steel, in my opinion, and learn how to sharpen. I think this is a better choice than the bug out, but I still think this has got a better it's got S30V, which is a better again. The groovery that's on the normal grip is great. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's plastic, exactly the same. You can judge over words, but they're just two different plastics. It's a bit hard, and it maybe doesn't sound brilliant, but these are work knives. These are what I call work knives. This isn't a knife that you're going to want to put in a case and show off. These are work knives that we're talking about, and I believe that that's what that's trying to be, is a work knife, a light-duty work knife. So I think the lock's better. Even if you like for fidget factor, I think the mini grip is going to be better. You have a bigger cutting surface. The thickness behind the edge is probably very similar on both of them. Probably very similar. It's not going to make that much different. Do you know what I mean? The mini grip is a little bit smaller, but you've got much more of a blade. Look at the difference in blade length. You know, it's a good size difference. Now, I'm going to take this away because, again, I think the materials, as in the steel and the lock, I think is better than what's on that. And this is a great knife. I'm starting to be a bit of a beater, but, and I'll tell you what it is probably that's annoying me the most, is that Benchmade to me are a knife company for, they start at the working man, if you like. They're bringing out knives that are good, that you can just pick up and work with. Whereas Spyderco, I think, is still in that, is trying to capture everybody. And that's absolutely fine. They're doing it. They're a multi-million-pound business. And they're doing it right for that equipment. But I'm talking as a person who collects knives, who loves using knives. I enjoy reviewing knives. And I think sometimes you have to be a bit honest. I think this was a jump to try and catch up with the bug out, because it was such a great seller, and it still is, and it will be for the rest of this decade, I would say. And I think they've got a bit greedy again, in my eyes. Now, it's just my eyes. This knife is beautiful and it will do work. There's nothing wrong with it. I can sharpen, so the blade steel is really not a factor. But I just think we're falling into this Spyderco trap of, we'll come out and we'll give you an inferior steel, so that when we bring the next steel out, you'll have to buy that knife too. And then we'll bring another one out and we'll do the sprint runs and you'll buy them too. And that's fair enough. That's their policy. But for me, it really bugs me that they knew that they were trying to get this as a comparison to the bug out. It's not. It's inferior. It's inferior to the mini grip because I would put them two knives much higher up the category than I would this. But this is a good knife. Don't get me wrong. It's well made. It came off centered, but most Spydercos do at the minute. It came off centered and the blade grind was terrible. But, well, not terrible. The blade grind wasn't particularly great. But, you know, most Spydercos are coming out like that now. That seems to be the norm. So, what would I put it up against? And to be honest with you, everybody's kept saying that, you know, it's a good price, you know, at 91 quid and it's 120 for a bug out. But that's because the steel, you know, it's a lesser steel. They've cheapened the scales, to me, by taking it away from a Delica, you know, for taking it away from, and this is lighter than that. This is lighter than that. There you go. This is lighter. And it has full scales in the inside of the steel scales. This hasn't. So, this is lighter, about the same blade length, near enough exactly. Same sort of scales, except these are better. And it's still lighter. These are thicker and it's still lighter. So, I mean, as much as I knock the Delica, that's still a blooming good knife. That is an amazing knife. But what they've done to this, I think, is lessen this, what is a brilliant grip texture, normally, on a Delica, or anything else that's lightweight. But they've really just taken it down, and it's not as good. And the bug out, for some reason in my hand, this feels light. There's no doubt about it. It's light and it'll do plenty of work. But again, I'm going to go back to it again. I think this is Spyderco sales business. And I think I don't want to fall into that trap anymore. I'm getting a bit tired of give me a crap steel, then bring a better one out, then I'll buy that knife, then I'll go on to the next one. That's not right. Have your basic steel. Let's get it together now. Let's have a basic steel that's S30V. And I'm talking about knives like Benchmade, Spyderco. A lot of the other companies have already got that, and some of them have gone higher. For goodness sake, Ganzo are giving us D2. They're giving us D2. And to be honest with you, there's a Ganzo. There's a Ganzo in about the same size. It's a wee bit heavier. It's half an ounce heavier. But that's half an ounce heavier than a bug out. So going on by what this is supposed to be charging, it's got to be in that ballpark. To be honest with you, this is an amazing knife. This is amazing. I don't think the lock that's on that lightweight is the right lock for that lightweight. I think this should be the Delica killer because it's a better shaped handle, it's a better shaped blade, it's a bit more sturdy, and I think they should have been targeting their own Delica with this. I think they should have started. I can't tell you how much I love this little knife, and I love cutting with it. You know, it's a really nice little knife. I'm just a bit peeved off that we're in this merry-go-round again where I'll give you a crap scale and you'll just buy a new one. I'll do this scale now and I'll maybe change it up because it isn't quite as good. It's a bit slippy. Where is the QC? They keep talking about QC, but yet, where's the QC before the knife comes out? Why does it need so much more after it comes out, straight away, like blade steel? Why would you put that blade steel in? Yes, I mean, Spyderco are great at giving us all different blade steels. And if you're a blade steel person, that's fine. But how many people are blade steel people? How many people out there in the street that are going to buy this knife that I'm going to do a review on and I'm going to say it's something like the bug out? Do you know, I'm sorry, it's just not as good or anywhere near. I don't put them in the same picture. I don't. The Para 3 and G10 will be a much better knife. The Paramilitary 2 is a much better knife. I'd rather recommend this to somebody than this because it's something and nothing. They tried to jump on this bandwagon and they missed the boat. They missed the boat, and I think it was, well, it's, you know, I'll probably get proved wrong and they'll sell millions of them. They seem to have that sort of, I don't know. Look, I just think we got shafted a bit on this. I think they brought a blade out that's It's not good enough for for a model of Spyderco of 91 quid. Do you know what I mean? The S30V, they could have put that on, charged 110, whatever, just put it underneath the bug out. But the scales, I think they've done themselves an injustice with this. I think they've rounded them too much, and I think they've take this down where it's not as grippy. Just in hand, it's not as grippy as that Delica. So, I sound as if I'm a bit aggressive there, and I don't mean to. I'm really quite passionate. I just don't like it when I feel as if somebody's taking the hand out of me. Do you know what I mean? That, in its normal form, not this, is 91 quid, or, $91, or somewhere around that price. Very similar in price. I'll go for this every time. I'll go for the mini grip every time because they're giving me now a standard S30V blade steel. And it's a more interesting knife all round with the axis lot. I just think the axis lot makes it a much more interesting knife. Because this, I don't believe that the locking system that's on here is going to be ever as good as the PM or the PM with G10, the PM3, the Para 3, sorry. Get your words out, Stephen. But no, I love this knife, and it's a great knife. And for 91 quid, do I think it's worth the 91 quid? Probably not, to be honest with you. Because the only other knife that in my collection that I would compare this to is a steel will. There you go. D2. Lightweight handle. It's a wee bit heavier. Hey, that's a wee bit heavier than the bug out. This ergonomically is beautiful. You have the sneak up like you have on this. You have a hold that's back here that's just as comfortable. The pocket clip's absolutely fine. I think the flipper is a better version of it, of a work knife, for in that sort of category that this is going for. This feels solid, where this feels quite light. And I've never felt, although the bug out is much lighter and it feels lighter in the hand, there's something about it when you close your hand around it. I know the scales move, but when you close your hand around this for everyday EDC work, this knife has never ever felt too light, or I felt that I couldn't do the job. I do not have that same feeling. Although as an EDC knife, this will do everything I ever need to do. But sometimes you want a wee bit more than what we're ever going to do. Sometimes we want that security that would do a wee bit more. So, am I barking up the wrong tree, or am I, I'm not out to get the Spyderco fanboys. That's not, I don't, that's just silly. I don't believe in doing that. But I do believe that there's other knives out there that should be compared against, but it shouldn't be that one. That has got to come away. It shouldn't be the Griptilian. It's a better knife again, better blade steel. Even if you take that better blade steel, that one thing. Look, Spyderco have their Chinese range. Well, they'll do HCR13 and charge an extortionate price for it, in my opinion. These are all my opinions. So why are they doing it? Why are they giving us the lesser steels instead of giving us S30V, like most of the rest of the market is doing, on a knife of that price? Why are they giving us a lesser steel in their normal run-of-the-mill knives now? Bump it up. Get it up to S30V minimum. It has to be. It has to be a powdered steel now. I think so, for a big company. But if you're not going to, I would recommend to somebody to buy this first, and maybe even that, because that is an amazing little knife. You can laugh all you like, but that is an amazing knife. If you haven't got one, do not slur on it until you've got one, because that is a great work knife. And this is a great work knife, steel will. It's a great work knife, and they do lots of varieties, and they're probably half the price of that. So, I got this given to me, and I will treasure this For as long as I am on this earth, it'll never get passed on to anybody else. It will stay with me and I will enjoy it and I will use it. Again, I can sharpen, so I have no need to get the S30V1 when it comes out, or the S90V1 when it comes out, or the LC200 one when it comes out. I'll be happy with this. It's the one lightweight that I need of theirs. I don't need another one. But for those of you out there that are going to be steel chasers, I think they're taking a mickey. And that's the God's honest truth. I just think they're taking a mickey. I think it's a brilliant sales ploy. They'll throw a crap blade steel out, we'll all buy it, and then 6 months down the line, S30V or something else will come out, and then we'll all have to have that. Sorry, I am not being one of the all. I am just not going to be one of the all. That knife is a lovely knife. A really nice, lightweight, easy work knife. There's not a damn thing wrong with it. But I just feel as if there's an awful lot of people falling into this trap. I think nearly with Spyderco, you need to let their next evolution of whatever come out and then wait 6 months, because they'll give you a better blade steel. And the price is usually somewhere similar. So, it's up to you. But I can't recommend this over the bug out. I can't, in all honesty to my heart, recommend this. I'm not even going to go to the Ganzo, because I can't recommend it over that there, because I think that's a better knife. If I was going to spend the money, I'll spend half the money and get this. I'll spend half the money and get this. So there you go. That's my opinion. It's as good as a steel will, just. This is D2. And I don't know why people are fed up with D2. It's flipping good. So, there we go. Paddy's thoughts and opinions, as usual. Probably different than the rest of the world's. But thank you very much for listening to me all waffling. I enjoy this hobby. I enjoy breaking a knife down. Sometimes you have to really break it down. But for the price, I think they missed the boat with this one. It was like a knee-jerk reaction to get on with the Benchmade bug out. Don't be fooled by it. I would say hang on. If you haven't bought one, hang on. Wait 3 months, 6 months. I guarantee you there'll be a lot better blade steel out. Don't fall into that wagon where you have to buy something. 6 months later, buy the same knife again and then lose money on the one that you have to pass off. That would be my opinion. If as a reviewer and as somebody recommending a knife, I just don't think you should be ripped off. I don't like that sales pitch. There you go. I've said it. Right, bye. Cup of tea time. My mouth's as dry as an old sock. See you later, boys. Bye now. And girls.